You look at the valley, you can see what looks like an ocean, and that's all solar panels. And then if you look in the distance, what looks like a lot of trees, that's just windmills. It's really cool. My hometown wasn't always carbon neutral, but as I was growing up, I noticed that, oh wow, there's a large amount of solar panels being put up here in the desert. And then that led me from an early age to ask, why are we doing this?
What does it mean for a system to be carbon neutral? And what I would just say there is that the net emissions of gases that contribute to climate change is zero.
So what are the ways we can achieve carbon neutrality? If we think about society at large, we can reduce how much carbon we put into the environment. So we can choose energy sources that have a lower energy input and enable us to use carbon-free or low-carbon sources to create the power systems.
So one of the things I think is potentially quite exciting is what was announced in the late fall last semester, when the university indicate that in 10 years they want to be carbon neutral, and by 2050 they want to be fossil fuel free. I think it's quite ambitious. I mean, the idea of being carbon neutral means for all of the operations, all of the activities around the university, whatever those operations create in terms of carbon emissions, we will either reduce them to zero or we will offset those emissions. We see the university putting some solar panels on roofs, signing power purchase agreements for solar energy from facilities here in the state, and that's certainly helping to cut our greenhouse gas emissions.
So there are some things about UVA's facilities that make it really tough to go 100% renewable. Mostly that's heat. There's steam tunnels that go all around the university, and those provide steam for all the university's buildings. And that with a renewable source of energy, a non-fossil source of energy, is expensive right now and tough to do. So that's probably UVA's biggest challenge moving forward.
We do not currently have in our toolbox all of the solutions needed to get to a 100% clean energy economy. So guess who's going to close that gap?
As more of the public realizes the gravity of the situation, there'll be strong demand for technologies to help us improve how we've done things in the past, including making energy. And I think certainly engineers are responsible for the deployment of technology, creation, solving problems, and coming up with good new technologies.
We applied for the Experimental Learning Fund, which was offered through UVA's engineering school, and we ended up receiving $1,000 for our project. We have an acronym, it's called CREC-MARO-MG. Essentially what this does is it collects water on the top. We're gonna have two buckets attached to a pulley system. So there's bucket A and bucket B. If water is initially going to bucket A, once it gets heavier, bucket B shifts up. Water then from the top goes towards bucket B. Through this process, we continually shift when one bucket is heavier than the other. And that rotation is attached to a pulley and a gearbox system. And so it's going to amplify the amount of rotations so we can charge a battery.
It seems to me that we're a little bit of a tipping point in the US with respect to acknowledging that the climate change situation is dire and urgent and really demands immediate action.
Earth is such a beautiful place, and it's so special that it's something you really shouldn't take for granted. And I think it's a shame that people have to zoom so far out to notice that.